Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Some evacuees telling Our News about their immigration concerns.
The Department of Labor putting a stop to that strike vote to be held by union members of the National Insurance Board.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Cleanup efforts continue in East Grand Bahama, where 1 million gallons of oil spilled from tanks during Hurricane Dorian's passage. Jerome Sawyer ventured onto the Equinor plant at South Riding Point and filed this report.
Whether it's an aerial view or a ground view, the pictures tell a true story. Over 1 million gallons of oil blown from 2 tanks at the Equinor plant at South Riding Point in East Grand Bahama. The sediments are seen around the facility and in nearby forests. A government report says it could be as far as 7 miles from the compound. 365 men and women are on the site cleaning and remediating the harmful properties.
Well, oil, there are toxic components of oil, the volatile components like refined products, gasoline, etc. This is not one of them, fortunately. Also, it does have some of those volatile products in it, but during the storm, 180 mile an hour wind coming out into the air, a lot of that was lost. So this is, there's no more odor out here, the acutely toxic things are gone, and a lot of the chemicals that are in oil, there are plant.
Teams of environmental experts are dedicated to monitoring air quality, the coastline, wildlife, and the nearby water table. So far, the results have been encouraging.
We planned for high numbers. There were low numbers, so we're very thankful for that. But regardless, we were ready for high numbers of animals.
Environmental groups have zoned in on the site since the oil spill, alleging slow response, insufficient protection for Bahamian workers, and long-term environmental damage. All allegations that Equinor officials are refuting.
From a priority perspective, we had oil that hit the ground. That has been the priority of getting that up. And there was some oil out of the terminal, and that was the concern, it being the public. So the resources have been prioritized on the ground in front of the terminal. So that has been the priority. Now that we've gotten the majority of that oil up, we are starting to get into the details of how far and distances and volumes and whatnot right now.
And what about local environmental groups? Are they being engaged, brought in? Are you seeking advice from them?
We're open and transparent. That's another one of our values, is open. So we will continue to be open. We will always allow them to come in to see what we're doing. We're not afraid of anything we're doing. We're taking all the right actions that we need to do to ensure that we get this done safely and in the right way. So we extend it. We extend an invitation. Come in, come see what we're doing. We're proud of the work we're doing. These guys are working hard. They're putting in long hours, long days, and our commitment is really to get this done, and it's work that we're proud of.
As it stands, crews are on site around the clock with an abundance of resources. Will it be enough? Only time will tell. Jerome Sawyer reporting for Our News.
Well, some storm victims staying at shelters in New Providence are expressing fear over the possibility of immigration raids. Jared Higgs reports.
Now, government officials have said that deportations will continue and that special consideration for those affected by the storm won't necessarily be given. Now, the Prime Minister and Attorney General have also said that those with work permits who've lost their jobs should return home. Now, some evacuees who we spoke with did not have legal status.
One of those evacuees is Haitian national 42-year-old Jules Guerrier. He told Our News that at one point he had a work permit, but that expired in 2014. Guerrier says after being deported, he was allowed back in the country to handle the funeral arrangements of his 4-year-old son, who died after being left unattended in a vehicle in 2017.
After that, I go back to Abuko. I put my working permit inside there, but immigration catch me in Abuko again.
Despite having letters from his boss and an attorney, Guerrier says he was still sent to jail, with government declaring that it will enforce immigration laws according to statute. Migrants like Guerrier, who are displaced due to Hurricane Dorian, are left vulnerable to being expelled from the country. When asked about it, he offers an uncomfortable chuckle and appeals for leniency. They've said that they're going to resume deportation so you could get deported.
Yeah.
How do you feel knowing that?
I don't know. Only government and government could do something for everybody. Everybody who don't have nothing, but if he could do something for us, he could do it.
Government's immigration stance comes despite an urgent appeal from the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights for the Bahamas to end deportations to Haiti for now. The agency says it is concerned over government's immigration policy and the treatment of migrants post-Hurricane Dorian. Sylvanie Lauriston says she lived in Abaco for more than a decade and has a work permit. Officials have warned that work permit holders without jobs should return home.
I almost get 13 years here, only in Abaco. Sometimes when I come in Nassau, come only have the baby and go back.
The mother of three says she is more concerned about people who have no legal status.
No, because and I heard because for some people they don't have nothing. I so hard for them, but for me I sweet.
Not everybody is so lucky though. Guerrier, who has another teenage son living in New Providence, doesn't want to be separated from his family. However, he says there's only so much he can do.
I trying to. I don't want to leave my boy there. I don't want to leave my family there. You see what I'm saying? But only government could do something for us.
Reporting for Our News, I am Jared Higgs.
A police-involved shooting has left 2 men in hospital. According to Inspector Leonardo Burrows, the incident occurred shortly before 2 p.m. through Sequoia Street in Pinewood Gardens. He said details were sketchy at the moment, but an exchange of fire resulted in the 2 suspects being shot. They were taken to hospital where their condition is unknown. Well, days after they walked off the job, citing stalled negotiations, employees of the National Insurance Board took part in a strike poll today. George Urbain reports.
Director of Labor John Pinder noting that there were a few technicalities that forced the Department of Labor to put a stop to a strike poll to be held by the National Insurance Board union today. Now, members of that board still turned out to cast their vote.
But after we did our scrutiny of the process as relates to a union having the right for a strike poll, we recognized that there were some illegalities involved. And unfortunately, it was at the last minute we discovered this. And so we had to advise the president that we could not conduct the poll based on the information we received from him.
Despite being informed that the Department of Labor would not be present to oversee the voting process, President of the Union of Public Officers, Guion Roach, still led members of his union to the Church of God of Prophecy to cast their votes on Friday. When asked about the issue, Roach said he had scheduled a meeting with his lawyer and had a justice of the peace overseeing the process in place of the Department of Labor officials. But according to Pinder, there is no legal way a strike certificate can come out of Friday's vote.
The law says that the poll is the minister's poll, and it's conducted by the Department of Labor under my leadership. And so, I mean, they can do what they want to do, but I guess that's for the union itself. But as it relates to anything legal, in order to get a legal strike certificate, that has to come from the Department of Labor after a poll has been conducted. We were not in a position to conduct that poll today because, like I say, there were some technical legalities involved. And so just to ensure that everybody would have been able to exercise their rights to vote and make sure the process was a fair one. We have now advised them to reapply if this matter doesn't go away.
While the union president listed several reasons why the situation has come to a boiling point, Pinder insisted that the Department of Labor has been doing its best to resolve the matter and said, in fact, it was the union officials who walked out of a recent meeting.
The Department of Labor had intervened for some time now. Myself, with a consultant, Reverend Patterson, we have several meetings with them. And we were this close to inking an agreement. It was just a little small difference in there that we needed to get the board of NIB to agree to, and we would have been able to ink a deal. But before I was able to get back to them with the final proposal coming from NIB, they actually left the meeting.
Pinder said it is his hope that there will be no need for a strike poll or industrial action, as NIB has appointed a lead negotiator and they are scheduled to meet at the table again sometime next week. Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
Residents of Abaco and Grand Bahama joined New Providence residents on the job hunt today at a job fair at Government High School. One Abaco resident said he's just trying to get back on his feet and put the storm behind him. Jillian Gray reports.
Thousands of people showed up to the Breezes and Courtyard Marriott job fair, eager to secure one of the 500 spots available. That's where we met Michael Fredericks, a former resident of the Mud Abaco, who said he's just ready to take any job they're dishing out.
So in everybody's mind is, how long is this going to last? How long are we going to be able to stay in the shelters? Because, you know, this is not a forever thing. You guys are going to need your gymnasium back or your churches back. So we're just trying to, you know, me at least, I'm trying to, you know, figure out how to get a job and then move out of here, which is why I'm at this fair right now.
Frederick has been on the job hunt from the moment he landed in the capital, but said no one has called as yet. His grocery store job in Abaco is still available to him as the store was not completely destroyed, but he said he won't return to the storm-ravaged island right now for the sake of his health.
From what I've heard, they're not really making much progress in cleaning up, and I feel like if I were to go back and look at the destruction, it just would, you know, do something to me as far as mental health-wise.
Former resident of Grand Bahama, Cameron Hepburn, said while he did not spend the storm on the island, his family did. Hepburn has been looking for work for almost 2 weeks and said he simply wants to find employment so that he can make money while finishing his studies to be an electrician.
They have numerous jobs out here for all kinds of people, and it's really great, especially from people from Grand Bahama and Abaco. It's a really good experience to try come out here and put your name on something to try to get yourself back on your feet.
Jasmine Roll said she's been looking for work since June, and with a strained labor market, it hasn't been easy.
I'm hoping before the next week is out, someone calls me, because finding jobs isn't easy.
I feel like I'm about to get somewhere out of this one.
Okay, so you're very confident in it?
Very, very, very confident.
Fair coordinators processed nearly 1,000 people by midday, with still hours to go in the program. 25 companies participated in the event.
Very important to help. We all have to live in the Bahamas. It's very important that everyone has a job.
No, when we first started out, the vision was for us to assist the Abaco and Freeport residents, but with the number of calls and emails that we were bombarded with, we just decided to just leave it open.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Still to come, why an F&M MP says the House Speaker appears to be biased. Plus, a funeral director adds a personal touch to burials. Stay tuned.